Let's bring in now Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. He's chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee and a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, thanks so much for joining us this morning. A lot to talk to you about, but let's start with Iran. You've been consistent from the very beginning and really since before this war, too, that the War Powers Act must be brought back into American public, into the conversation around these wars. You've proposed this resolution to get Congress its say back in what the president can and cannot do in a war. Where does that fight stand?
Well, even more importantly, before you get to the War Powers Act is the Constitution itself. The Constitution says that the declaration of war, the initiation of war, is a vote of Congress. There's a big debate in the Constitutional Convention. All of our founding fathers, from Hamilton to Jefferson, agreed they didn't want this power in the hands of one person. So really there needs to be a vote. There's also the advisability of the war. This is a war of choice, and it wouldn't have been my choice. I think if you look at it objectively, one step forward, we decimated their military, but 2 steps backwards in that they've militarized the Strait. The Strait has never been militarized, and I think really no negotiations go forward until you can get a demilitarization of the Strait, and you will still have to negotiate to get any nuclear achievement despite the military victory. So I think that really we, by any objective viewing, are worse off now than we were before the war.
So then with that in mind, Senator, I think a lot of people in this country would agree with you on that assertion. What is the best possible outcome at this point for the United States? What's the best way out of this war?
The sooner the war ends, the better, and there are a lot of alternatives. If you still want to strive for your objective, and it's hard for people who begin a massive war and have spent tens of billions of dollars on this bombing campaign, it will be very hard for them to leave and not try to get their goal. One goal would be removal, and it's a noble goal, removal of the enriched uranium. If they could get that, they could really go a long way towards saying, well, gosh, it was justified. We got rid of their enriched uranium. But the only way you'll do that is you have to negotiate. So there are many hardliners in our administration that do not want any negotiation. They're the ones that trash any kind of talk of a settlement because they say, we're not going to negotiate with these terrorists. We're not going to negotiate with this regime. We have to have regime change. But short of regime change, which doesn't seem to be occurring, you will have to negotiate. So I am a big believer that sanctions are of absolutely no value unless you exchange them for something. So it's release of sanctions that gets behavioral change. We have 26,000 sanctions on Russia. They're going to put more on this week. It doesn't do anything to Russia. We have thousands on with Iran. If you want Iran's behavior to change, you have to trade them relief of sanctions for a behavior. So frankly, if they would release and have the 440 kilograms of enriched uranium leave the country, I would have significant, very significant relief of trade sanctions, and they would be dependent one upon another, and you wouldn't have to worry about whether they're telling the truth or not, because it would be the removal of something that physically would happen. So I think there is possibility for a peace, but there are some in my party that don't want any peace and want it to go on until there's a regime change, and I think that could be a long time.
So, Senator, you've made clear you didn't agree with the war. You do not think it's been a success. So in its aftermath, when it does end, whenever that might be, where does that leave the United States? There are reports of our munitions supply has been dramatically reduced, really dwindled, our ability to defend, our interests around the globe, but also a projection of weakness to the rest of the world, to Russia, to China, because the United States here might be leaving the Middle East with Iran strengthened in its control over the Strait of Hormuz and the hardliners' power in Tehran.
I think the one thing that is without question when you see our military might and the execution of it, that nobody can touch us. We are unparalleled. Doesn't mean we can end every conflict around the world or that we should intervene, but we are unparalleled. We will have to replenish our stores over time, but the immediate vote that will come up for us very soon, to me, is essentially a proxy vote for continuing the war. And so I'm not much for spending another $100-200 billion without offsetting. If they're willing to cut spending somewhere else, I'll consider it. But just to add more to the debt, I think makes us weaker. I actually think the national debt is a greater threat than any threat of foreign invasion to our country. I think it's from within. It's the rot from within. It's the devaluation of our currency. And it's frankly the chance that there'll be an economic panic at some point because we're so far overextended.
Senator, how do you pull back? How do we as a country, how does Congress pull back its power to declare war. I mean, I'm thinking back 25 years now to the AUMF after 9/11. Your father, Congressman Ron Paul, voted for that, but didn't want that used for Iraq a year later. And here we are with these blanket declarations of war. How do we return to that constitutional responsibility?
I think the interesting thing is presidents of both parties have been abusing executive power. But even George Bush, who was heavily criticized by myself, my father, and others for the wars he got us involved with, he actually did come to Congress. There was an authorization of the military force, you're right, for the Afghan war and for the Iraq war. And so that's at least trying to obey the Constitution. Now, I've had the debate with this administration, and, the Office of Legal Counsel is the apologist for the president. They're always for executive power, whether they're Republican or Democrat. That's their job. But they told me this isn't a war. And I said, well, why isn't it a war? And they said, well, a constitutional war has to have significant casualties. And I said, well, then we would have to wait till the war is over to count up our dead to decide that we weren't in favor of initiating the war. Initiation or declaration of the war is before the casualties. But the way they define it is, Venezuela wasn't a war because not many Americans died. And so I asked the Secretary of State, I said, well, what if they bombed the U.S. Capitol in the United States, bomb our air defenses, abduct our president, and remove him from the country? Would that be war? And as much as I'm anti-war, I'll vote to go to war if someone attacks our capital. So it is war. And we can't say it's not war when we do it, but it is war when somebody else does it, because I think that rings hollow worldwide, but also rings hollow for those of us who would like to avoid unnecessary war.
A lot of people agree with you that power needs to be restored.